I'm going to show how I take out a tree root. This is an apple tree that's probably, I don't know, 20 years old, and it died last year, so take this out of here. First off, I'm going to dig out this sod. And I'll remove the sod all the way around the trunk, probably out about a foot and a half or so. And I've got all the sod out. Now I'm going to start removing the dirt. And yeah, there's a root. I'll be hitting numerous ones of those. There's another one right there. So I'll just dig down for a while and expose as many roots as I can. I've dug down to the kind of the top and sides. Some of the roots I'm going to have to dig down a bit further. I also ran into a telephone line. I knew there, I know I don't have, I know there isn't any electricity here because my electricity is above ground, and I know there's no gas lines here because this is in the back part of my property. But if I suspected there was anything even close, I would have called the utility and had them mark them. This is actually a internet line that isn't being used, and I don't think I cut it, so I'm just going to be careful. Need to do some more digging there. I'm piling up dirt over here in the garden, and thinking back, what I should have done with the sod is laid it out the same way I took it out. I'll try and put it back, but it would have been easier if I would have been thinking ahead and laid it in this exact same pattern as it was I took it out. It'd be easier to put it back in. I'd know where all the pieces go. But something to remember for next time. I'll keep digging. On the apple tree, I'm leaving it tall. This must be 10, 12 feet tall. And the taller it is, the more leverage I get on getting these roots broken off, cut off. If I would cut it off down close to the ground, I have virtually no leverage, and it makes it harder to get it out. So I'm going to attach up fairly high. The higher I can attach the chain or rope, the more leverage I have, the easier it is to get it out of the ground. First thing is I'm going to put on some goggles before working with the come along. Got this dug out pretty decent. I'm going to use a cordless sawzall to cut off these roots. And I'll go around and cut off all the roots. I've attached the come along to the tree. I put a chain around there, and I stretched out the come along as long as I could so I have as much cable as I possibly can, because I don't know how far I'm going to have to pull it, and to rehook up takes extra time and those things. So then I ran a rope over to the bumper in the Tahoe. It's nylon, it's probably 3/8 or 1/2 inch, pretty strong. But then attaching the rope to the come along, easier to show, I think. I just did like this, put it around, then I put the stick in there, and then tighten that up, and then the come along is in through there. The knot's over actually down below here, but the stick is, when I'm putting so much pressure on it with the come along, if I don't have the stick in there, I probably won't be able to get that knot out. But what the stick does is makes it so I can loosen the knot up and take it apart. So now I'm just tightening this up with, I've cut off all the roots with the Sawzall. The battery had died, so I had to charge it. Cut off all the roots I can find, and now I'm just winching this with the come along. You should be able to see the tree moving. And I'll pull that as far as I can. Hopefully it'll come over. I might have to cut off a few more roots, we'll see. So I've winched this up pretty much as tight as I can go. I'm gonna have to take everything loose. And the tree is at about a 45-degree angle. But I'm gonna take everything loose, see if I can't push it back up. And what I might end up doing is hooking up the come along over there on that post. We'll see. I can't get the tree out, so I'm gonna have to go over to the other post on the opposite side, but this stick makes that rope easy to take apart. And I've done it before without the stick, and ended up having to cut the rope, which is not good because I can't get the knot out. So I'm gonna rehook up on the other side. So hooking up over here, I've got the rope around the post. I'm just going to loop it up and around. Put the stick in. And loop it around there. Pull that tight. And then hook up the come along. Right there. And now I can start winching that up. Pull it the other direction, and success. Now I just need to cut this tree up and haul it away, and then put the dirt back in the hole and put the sod on and water it. Now I'm gonna put dirt back in this hole up about 3-4 inches from the top, and then I'll put the sod back in. I've got that filled up to about 2 inches from the top of the edge. I'm guessing this is probably going to sink just a little bit. Just dig up dirt, it kind of gets fluffed up, and then once it gets rained on after a while, the particles of dirt all settle down and get compacted. So it's just going to have a little bit high, and just put the sod in. And I'll fill in the rest of the sod. And I've got all the sod back in here, and it'll fit together pretty good. I like to push it down well so it makes good contact with the dirt. And there's a few spots, a few cracks. Put a little dirt on there. That out, fill in those spots that are empty, and then that'll fill in with grass. And now I'm gonna water this well, because if this dries out, the grass is all dead and gone, then I have to start over from scratch with seed. So I'm gonna make sure I get plenty of water on this. Probably, I'm thinking water it every day, probably like 2 inches per week, and do that for probably a month, because Unless this takes, well, it'll die, it'll all turn brown and be dead. Be sure and check out my other videos.